My name is Cody Andrews, and for my applied business project, this is my dust hazard analysis proposal and implementation. I'll move on with the problem statement. Just discussing combustible dust explosions are a persistent industrial hazard within the agricultural and food production and manufacturing industry. Dust accumulations often exceed safe thresholds within facilities, and inconsistent application of engineering and administrative controls is somewhat of a plague within especially our facilities. Research shows that dust hazards are often underestimated because accumulation occurs gradually and is normalized over time. There's also a limited employee awareness of dust ignition risks. Without a formal DHA, our organization will struggle to identify ignition sources, deflagration, deflagration pathways, and acceptable accumulation limits. These photos are also courtesy of US Clean Blast and Air Plus Industrial. As a quick side note, due to confidentiality reasons, I cannot share photos or specific data from my company, but these are good examples of things that I am experiencing within the current DHA rollout and implementation process right now. The supporting research with this problem. Dust explosions are typically preventable. This is according to Miote and Lima et al., both 2017 and 2023. It's pretty consistent across the board over the years. Primary contributors are often inadequate hazard identification, poor housekeeping design, and a lack of a formal DHA process. It's worth noting as well, given that we manufacture foods, uh, and work in the agriculture industry, this industry is the most affected by dust explosions and combustible dust. By far, we are about almost 50% of all of the hazards. So it's a highly common occurrence within this industry. Um, the another thing that's worth pointing out is that the DHAs they rely on reactive controls, which facilities without this reliance, they tend to increase the likelihood of catastrophic events. This photo is also, and the data corresponding with it is courtesy of Cloney, published in 2024. The proposed solution I have is to implement a formal DHA across the board, prioritizing the controls using the hierarchy of controls within environmental health and safety, as well as integrating a DHA into our maintenance planning, engineering design, and safety management systems, as well as reinforcing these principles at all of our facilities. Rolling out a structured DHA aligns us with NFPA 652's expectations and safety management best practices. The DHA identifies combustible dust hazards, evaluates explosion severity and likelihood, and prioritizes risk reduction through engineering and elimination strategies rather than procedural reliance. The hierarchy of controls pyramid diagram here as well is courtesy of the Texas Department of Insurance, published in 2025. The research support behind all of this. So DHAs they typically reduce incident likelihood when they're conducted systematically, they're updated regularly, and they're integrated with operations. Research shows that engineering-focused interventions such as dust collection, redesign, and enclosure provide significantly higher risk reduction rather than just training or housekeeping. Studies by Eckhoff 2016 and Vickery et al. 2020 support DHA-driven engineering investment as the most effective long-term mitigation strategy. The research in the chart here, as well as some of what is backing up this commentary here on engineering controls versus administrative controls, is supported by Lima et al. And published in 2023. Specifically, engineering controls tend to outperform administrative controls, and the things that we would like to focus on within the implementation in some of our facilities is dry dust extraction, air curtains, and wetting, because they're some of the most effective even at their minimum dust control efficiency. The implementation plan. So I use this flow chart from Prime Process Safety Center, published in 2024, as an example for one of our facilities. It's a really good starting block for implementing or doing a dust hazard analysis. But the biggest part of the implementation plan is to conduct a baseline DHA. This will bring us into compliance with NFPA 652 as well as OSHA standards. The next thing to do is to rank hazards by severity and likelihood, selecting controls using the hierarchy of controls, and then training employees on hazards and those controls for them. And then integrating all these findings into planned maintenance and inspections. That way the maintenance team is is married into this whole plan as well. Uh, Basically, the maintenance systems are updated to sustain controls, ensuring the dust hazards don't reemerge over time, but it's also up to the operations team to uh, keep an eye on this stuff as they're working and manufacturing. The change management and buy-in. So everybody's biggest question in this meeting is going to be what's in it for me, from the directors to the VPs to the individual facilities. Um, I would like to start off going into some of the details of the next slide first and saying that uh, we've rolled out some of this in one facility already and have seen some promising results as such. But to come back to this slide right here, the change management and buy-in. What's in it for you is ultimately uh, we're going to reduce overall downtime. We're going to increase productivity, and there will be a regulatory confidence from all of our facilities when regulatory bodies such as the FDA or OSHA come around, as well as a reduction in safety incidents with an increase in personal safety. Uh, the biggest things that we need to do is make everybody in this room aware, as well as the individual facilities, of the combustible dust hazard risks, any historical incidents that have happened within our company or in competing companies, and then also any of the consequences that could come from not complying with NFPA 652. Being aware of all of these hazards, the next thing is to cultivate a desire, not just within those of us in this room, but also with the facilities and operations employees, connecting the DHA to personal safety. When people understand that if they follow this, that there's a significant decrease in likelihood that they will be involved in a dust explosion. Um, the other things to keep in mind are a reduction in cleanup. My personal experience in operations and manufacturing is that within FDA environments, there are strict rules with the cleanliness of the rooms that they are manufacturing in. If there is even one particulate of contaminant left over from a previous batch that doesn't correspond at all, uh, I mean that's going to be a loss of time in having to re-clean the room and then get with the quality analysts to make sure that the room is safe and up to standards. Once this desire is cultivated, which everybody should have based on uh, the presentation so far, is passing on the knowledge. When teams are trained on dust hazards, their ignition sources, the inspection methods, and new control requirements, now they know what they're looking for. And that helps them continue cultivating that desire and growing into having the ability. The ability is largely on the management, providing the proper tools, whether it's safety data sheets or physical tools to work on equipment or make sure that uh, you know any kind of meters or dials or gauges are calibrated properly, uh, as well as pair, pairing all of this with housekeeping standards and instituting clear responsibilities for all of the facilities. Now that they have the ability to do all of this, uh, passing all of this on to the facility management to reinforce everything from audits to key performance indicator tracking, leadership reinforcement, passing on from the plant manager to the EHS manager, the maintenance manager. Hey, I've noticed this, and when I've gone by these rooms, what are our numbers looking like? Or hey, I've noticed a significant drop. What are we doing to make sure that we get back up to standards? And then once that reinforcement's in place, that's really going to solidify this entire implementation. And as I said, this next slide is going to talk about some of the results that we've seen in the rollout that we've had as a pilot program. The key metrics that we are taking into account here are dust accumulation levels from pre and post DHA, the number of identified hazards mitigated, the housekeeping inspection scores, and the near miss and incident trends. It's important to note that in this pilot, we not only found a lot of success in adhering more to safety standards, as well as a reduction in unsafe conditions, but it's a good metric for the rest of the company to understand where we want to be with this and how we can avoid unnecessary costs and legal and catastrophic event fees and even just employee safety, whether it's workers' compensation or making sure that we're doing the right thing. That's really all this comes down to is almost just a moral obligation. Um, so the key metrics here, we've gathered data from September all the way to earlier this month in January, and uh, I'm gonna go ahead and start with dust accumulation levels. It might not sound like much, but we started around almost 3 millimeters of dust in some of our worst rooms in this facility. And depending on the type of dust that it is, it could be somewhat inert, it could be highly reactive. The important thing is to make sure that these rooms are kept clean, and we saw a dramatic reduction from September all the way to January post DHA go live, where we're at sub 1 millimeter across the board in this facility speaking. The number of identified hazards mitigated went from 18 and we're down to 6 now. So we're slowly uh, kind of like playing whack-a-mole with some of these problems, but we're slowly getting all of them to go down and stay down, which is a tremendous win for our team here. And I think it's something that once again goes to show that we can roll this out everywhere and see the same success. The number of housekeeping inspection scores, or I guess the scores themselves, they're on a factor of times 10 on this graph because I didn't want it to go all the way up to 100. So uh, going to housekeeping scores, we were at around low 60 for our housekeeping, which putting it in academic standards is a D average, which is terrible. But what we saw, especially once again post DHA go live, was a dramatic increase. And in January, we were at a low 90. So we're at an A minus now, and we still have room to grow. Uh, Going on to near miss and incident trends, we went from 6 all the way down to 1. This is testimony enough in itself that this is where we should be going with this across the board in all of our facilities across North America. We are seeing uh, a lesser amount of hazardous situations. That's just a tremendous deal. And really, the cost associated with this is negligible with the savings that we'll see. In conclusion, and the total business value, I will start off these pictures are from Air Plus Industrial. Uh, and it shows just a before and after. And this is essentially what our facilities are looking like in this pilot program. The DHA will enable proactive risk reduction. It supports regulatory compliance and audit readiness, uh, and will help us avoid fees from OSHA and from SQF auditors and from the FDA. It also helps improve safety culture and operational reliability. When employees feel like they're safe to be at work and they know that when they come in, they're going to go home the same way that they came, that's a huge deal. That's a huge investment for our company and creating a good culture for long-term employment. There's also a significant reduction in catastrophic loss potential. When you have some of these facilities that get leveled by dust explosions, we're not talking about months of downtime. We're talking about sometimes years between investigations and litigation and reconstruction. That is a loss in production, a loss in customers. A DHA-driven approach moves combustible dust management from reactive cleanup to engineered prevention. Beyond safety, it protects our assets, it ensures compliance, and reinforces a culture where hazards are systematically controlled rather than tolerated. And I hope this has convinced the directors and the VPs that this is the direction we need to go. If you would like to evaluate the resources that I've used, these are all of the references for for the data that I gathered. Thank you for your time.